Shane here, and it's been about 3 months since I released my young adult science fiction fantasy trilogy called The Reguleid. And here I thought it might be interesting to share some tidbits about how I first came up with the idea for some of the story and some of the characters. So the very beginning of the idea started a long time ago while idly flipping through this Encyclopedia Britannica Almanac 2004. So a long time ago. And while idly flipping through this, there were a couple of sections that I kind of combined. The first was this section on astronomy, most specifically the name meanings of constellations and the brightest stars in the sky. Because while reading this, I noticed that the 20th brightest star in the sky is called Regulus, which means king or little king. Well, I thought that was kind of an intriguing character name. I also noticed that one of the brightest stars in the sky is Aldebaran, which means the follower. So just from those two little facts right there, I could envision the relationship between two brothers. One, the elder, the little king, who is destined to rule one day, and the other, the follower, who is the second son and is possibly resentful about that. Other characters and locations came from these lists of constellations and stars, including the star Achernar, which means the end of the river, which led me to envision kind of a lonely, isolated place. The other part of this that kind of intrigued me was this section on the most venomous animals in the world. While reading about all these ways that nature could kill me, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if humans could do some of this stuff? And so I started compiling lists of abilities that animals could do that humans couldn't do, and wondering about how that might affect a person's life. Obviously there were other influences besides just this. Another one was the book The Aeneid by Virgil. The Reguleid title itself is a reference to the Aeneid, as the Reguleid tells the epic story of Regulus, just as the Aeneid tells the epic story of Aeneas. I also got some very basic story structure from the Aeneid, in which there's a man who has to leave his home and goes on this epic journey, and then finds a new home but kind of has to fight to solidify his place in the world. I also got like some character names from the Aeneid, such as in my story the character Terry is a reference to the blind prophet Tiresias. Another influence was the Bible's 1 Samuel story of King David. Oh, well, not king yet. But in this case, again, the very basic story structure of a young warrior who has to leave his home and journey to ally himself with his enemies to survive, his former enemies. And again, some character names also came from the 1 Samuel story, such as in my book, the character Philip Tynes is just a slight changing of the Philistines. So that was kind of just where a lot of the very early story comes from, and like any act of creation, I took those kind of very basic seeds of an idea and grew it into something my own, into the 1,000 or so pages that you can now purchase. Thank you.